Welcome to this video on Egograms, one of a series of videos on transactional analysis concepts. This video assumes a decent knowledge of the second-order functional model. If you are not familiar with it, please take a look at our video on that subject. Egograms are used to assess the relative importance or presence of the 5 ego states comprising the second-order functional model: controlling parent, nurturing parent, adult, adapted child, and free child, with the unshaded areas of the bars representing the positive aspects of the ego states and the shaded areas representing the negative aspects, except in the case of adult, which has neither positive or negative aspects and is shown as an unshaded bar. Having mapped the relative proportion of the ego states in this way, egograms can then be used to help people make changes to the balance of their ego states if they so desire, increasing some and decreasing others. An egogram takes the form of a bar chart in which the 5 ego states comprising this model are plotted along the x-axis. The bars are filled in according to the person's judgment of how much time they spend behaving in ways corresponding to the different ego states. It is important to only consider behaviour when filling in the bars. Thoughts and feelings are dealt with separately in the second-order structural model, and so are outside the scope of egograms. The precise amount of each ego state is not significant. It is much more important to consider the size of the ego states in relation to each other. Given this, an effective way to fill in an egogram is for the person doing so to first think of which ego state they most often display behaviour from and fill that in, including its positive and negative aspects. After that, the same is done for the ego state they show the least behaviour from. Then the others can be filled in to complete the egogram. To illustrate this, we may consider the example of Claire, a company manager, who has been asked to fill in an egogram by her therapist. Given the amount of time she spends in a controlling parent ego state when dealing with employees, she fills that in first, making sure to show both positive and negative aspects. After this, she fills in free child, as she feels due to the demands of work she spends least time in this. Finally, she fills in the other 3, with adapted child first, as it is nearly as significant as controlling parent. Again, this is due to work, specifically the amount of time she must spend following rules. This completes her egogram. The Constancy hypothesis holds that we only have a limited amount of psychic energy to use for our various behavioural ego states. Given that the total amount of this energy is constant, it follows that when we change the amount of energy we give to one ego state, the amount of energy given to one or more of the others will also change. It follows that if we wish to lessen the amount of time we spend in ego states we consider undesirable, we should increase the amount of time we spend in ego states we consider desirable. Doing so will decrease the psychic energy available to undesirable ego states and lessen the possibility that we will be in them. Conversely, spending less time in ego states we find undesirable is a good way to increase the amount of psychic energy available to desirable ego states, and therefore increase the amount of time we spend in them. As an example, we can return to Claire. After discussions with her therapist, she decides that she would like to spend less time in negative controlling parent when dealing with staff members, as being in this ego state too much troubles her. She begins to spend more time in positive controlling parent, giving rules and commands to her staff from a position of regard for them, and positive nurturing parent, displaying genuine caring behaviour towards her staff. According to the Constancy hypothesis, this should lessen the amount of psychic energy available for the other 3 ego states, and thus reduce the amount of time she spends in negative controlling parent. The second-order functional model and other transactional analysis concepts are covered in other videos. Please visit our channel for more, and subscribe if you'd like to be notified when new videos are uploaded.